Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Unfiltered Rebuild podcast. This episode's title is 260 weeks, 1,826 days, 43,824 hours. It's quite significant, is that title. That being that it equates to 5 years. And why is that important? Well, because that's me, and I'm 5 years sober. It's a good number to achieve, and I long and hope for many more to come. So I'm going to have a little conversation with you all with regards to the last 5 years, the highs, some lows, the work and the effort that goes into it, and what I do to try and maintain my sobriety. So I hope you enjoy it. Carry on listening. Ever since setting foot into my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was hearing terms such as a life beyond your wildest dreams, and it works if you work it, and how I could improve my life and be so much better off. A lot of that in the early days was quite unthinkable in terms of what would that look like? What were people thinking, or what was their understanding of a life beyond your wildest dreams? Was it the physical things? Was it money? Was it a big house? Was it a flash car? Was it, all the material things in life that we sometimes tag that major importance to? But quickly over time, I learned that what was more important was a life beyond my wildest dreams was one life where I was able to look after myself, look after those around me, work towards a happiness and maintaining that happiness, but also a life where I could live without guilt, without deceiving people, without the lies, without the shame. It did take a while, and it took a lot of listening and diving into books and speaking to people, online meetings, face-to-face meetings, to finally understand that actually the life that I actually wanted was a life just free of all those burdens, all those shackles, financially secure, liking my job, having respect for myself, and actually looking after myself, because over the years and with all the drinking, etc., all that had eroded over time. I was full of self-pity, self-loathing, didn't particularly like myself very much, but I still clung on to the parts of me that I felt that were still good and that kept me kind of on a level. But actually going to the meetings and listening from like-minded individuals enabled me to actually work towards what that life would look like. It took me around about 9 or 10 months, I think, before I reached out and actually spoke to somebody and said, I think I'm ready for a sponsor. I think I'm ready to embark on the 12 steps of AA. And that was after the many months of actually helping out at meetings, helping set up, helping put things away, helping making drinks, reading, sharing, even chairing. I managed to summon up the courage, because the way I saw it as the minute I entered the rooms was I felt safe, I felt secure, I felt less alone, but I also felt that I needed to start giving back straight away, because the value of it was there in terms of the knowledge, the newcomer, the old timer, everybody and anybody I could get something from in terms of teaching me about my alcoholism, about my disease. Then I felt I had to give back as well. And I could do that by helping out and volunteering and doing various things. So that's how that helped me. So after sort of 9 or 10 months, I felt well enough. Well, not well enough, but I felt all right enough to then embark on the 12 steps. And the first step we'd already covered. The first step was admitting that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Well, absolutely, my life had become unmanageable. I'd marriage breakdown. I think although the kids said they loved me, I think I'd kind of pushed them away over time. I was very lucky to maintain friends, but possibly only just. And although back at work at that point, I was still raw and vulnerable to all the things that can attack you from all sides and make you spiral and make you feel like you need that crutch of that drink. So, having embarked on seeking a sponsor, immediately we became friends. He was open to listening. He was, I think at that time, 2 years sober, or just over 2 years sober. And he himself wanted to commit to the program and work towards helping other people also. And I benefited greatly from the conversations that we had. I already knew step one, that I was powerless and that my life had become unmanageable. I'd already made steps towards making and changing my life for the better by attending meetings regularly. So step one, albeit a really difficult one at the time, looking back, wasn't as difficult a step to make. The difficult part was putting down the drink, not having another, and then trying to work a way forward as to how I could live my life without it. And trying to gain some semblance of normality, or a new normal, because my old normal was shocking and rubbish. We gradually worked our way through the steps. We worked on step 2, which came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And of course, my insanity at the time was thinking I could control my drinking, thinking I could stop the day after a binge or stop a couple of days after a binge, but carried on. And that insanity there, we all know what the definition of insanity is, and nothing was changing for me. But finding a power greater than myself, I'm not a religious person, and the concept of God didn't overwhelm me and didn't frighten me at all, because I was on my knees when I got to the rooms, physically broken, mentally broken, and I needed something. And it wasn't as spiritual an experience for me in that the shining light, the polishing of the halo, etc. It was the rooms itself. It was the people I became to listen to and understand, and they became my higher power. They became the focus for me, where I could learn from each and every one of them, talk to them, listen, and the books, and reading the books, and that became the higher power for me that enabled me to carry on in that first year of my sobriety and through the steps. I decided that for me was it. And in a sense, I still do, because every time I attend a meeting, I get something new out of it. Every time I listen to a sharer or whoever's chairing the meeting, I will pick something from that. No matter what kind of day I've had, it always resonates with me, because we're alcoholics. And although we often think that we are that only one person and nobody will ever understand, there are other people out there who do understand about me and understand about my life. So that was my higher power. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And I've just touched on that actually with step 2. My higher power and my God became the rooms, very reliant on them. And as I am now, and I often say that And I think my partner will agree that if I've not been to a meeting for a while, she can sense and see a change in me, which basically means I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do to keep sober and keep sane. And she will urge me to go to a meeting online, physically. So there's definitely something there. There's definitely a power there that I recognize, almost like the tablet that you need to take if you're on any kind of antidepressant, and the shift in mood if you don't take it. That's what the rooms are to me. That's kind of a medication, and on top of my medication. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Well, I did do that, and I made a note of everything about myself and how I perceive me, not so much about what other people think about me, but about who I am. I am a thinker. I am an overthinker. I'm a self-loather. Most definitely an alcoholic. I am over-analytical. At times I lack confidence. I can be often negative. I am self-pitying. I am overweight. I am selfish. I am unfit. And I have a distinct fear of letting people down. That's changed. And I'll tell you why that's changed. That a lot of that has changed because I used to be a liar. I used to be deceitful and dishonest. That inventory is from not so long back. The one I read out. And there are lots of things that I am working towards, but that's the reason why I stick to doing the 12 steps. And that's the reason why I try and maintain my sobriety. As in I am maintaining my sobriety, but I still have to work towards doing that. And trying to keep on top of the inventory can be quite tough because it does often lead to you having to be open and honest with yourself about who you are and what you're becoming. And, I touched on one of the things I can be negative, but I do try and change those negatives into positives. I try and be a positive person because I know that being negative can affect everybody around you. And especially if you work in a team-based scenario, that one negativity can spread like wildfire across the rest of everybody. So I try and remain positive where I can. So there are changes that I am making gradually. And a lot of it is the self-loathing. A lot of the things that I read out will be perceived to be very negative. And again, that's the work I'm putting into myself to try and eradicate some of that self-loathing. I'm not happy with my appearance. I am unfit. And I do try from time to time to battle against that. But I have to be kind to myself and not beat myself up if I don't fulfill that. I do try and set myself unrealistic goals, which then, if I am not able to follow through with them, very much like my drinking, all or nothing. I'm either full tilt, or once that one thing stops me from doing it, that's when I can relent and back off, and then it all goes then. And then I'm back at square one. So that's another work in progress for me. And again, that's 5 years on. I'm still looking at that inwardly. But I do have some things I need to bottom out first, and then I can concentrate on me. So it's prioritizing. Step 5 was admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Well, I did that. I wrote that all down. And that is a very personal journey, personal thing. And I discussed that with my sponsor. And again, it was really important because it actually helped me see my part in those things. I could see my part in my marriage breakup. I could see my part in a lot of the things I did, and that a lot of the things I did when in drink. And yeah, that opened my eyes quite a lot, but it was also quite cathartic. It was something, quite a lot of the things that we did discuss I did carry with me for quite some time. And then I have had counselling quite a few times now, and I touched on it in one of the previous episodes. The counselling that I had last time, we didn't focus on the past because I can't change that now. The only thing I can change now is me and how I am going forward. So that was an uplifting, often difficult, but it was uplifting because I was able then to share and lose some of the guilt and the shame and discuss. It was my sponsor about that. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Well, yeah, I am. And again, it's not a God I prescribe to, but it is basically accepting that I know what my part in all that was, and I know that I need not make those mistakes again and be that person again. And, I do still have shortcomings. I think everybody does, but it's how I work on that and how I can recognize that and move forward. Step 7 is humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Well, I think that comes with the work and being the individual that you want to be, being that person that strives to not be and not do the things that you did in the past that were the cause of so much hurt, hate, and pain, and working to a more positive life and well-being. Step 8 is made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Yep, I made my list, and the most important person on that list was myself. And that might sound selfish, but I needed to forgive myself and make amends to myself for all the damage that I had done to me. Yes, there were family members on there who I spoke to and where possible made amends. There was my ex-wife, and albeit, things have moved on, I do think that I have made amends to them, but also my sobriety is a living amends. Staying sober, being present, and being able to help others and live a better life is my living amends. And step 9 was make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So that just means about speaking to people, the people who you've hurt and harmed over the years. But there are individuals who are possibly out there, not so much for myself, but possibly out there who to rake up over old ground would be damaging and would have a negative impact. So in that respect, being willing to doesn't necessarily mean having to follow through with that if what you do or what you did back then is going to cause more damage than good. And thankfully, that wasn't me. Number 10, step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Now, I like to think I am very good at recognizing now when I am wrong. And I do admit it, and I will hold my hands up and I will take responsibility for my actions where once I never did. If I get it wrong, there is the feeling is, do I want to carry that with me? Do I want to pretend that everything is all right when it's not? No. So I will promptly admit that I'm wrong and I will make amends where I have to. It just means that I don't have to carry anything with me. I don't have to relive all that and rethink about it. Step 11, sort through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So prayer and meditation, the only prayer I do partake in is the Serenity Prayer. Most days, trying when I get up, or sometimes even I will utter it while I'm driving sometimes, because it tends to lead me to sort of resentment and anger sometimes with other road users. But that is the one I will speak and utter. And meditation, it's interesting because 5 years ago, probably never meditated, never kind of believed in it. But when entering the rooms and laying down everything bare, making yourself that vulnerable, raking over old wounds and opening old wounds, the meditation is a really important part in centering yourself again, even to the point of trying to get to sleep. I will meditate on the night. I will listen to meditation. I will do some breathing exercises, not religiously, not every single day, but I do try more often than not. And I will engage in that activity as much as I can, and I will promote it now. Whereas, once I would have balked, now I will actively partake in it. And I have felt the benefits either through treatment centres or just online presences. I can't recommend it enough, even if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. That peaceful shut out time where you just quieten your mind, listen to your breathing, or even outside where you're listening to nature, something that can take you away from the hustle and bustle and noise of the outside world. Can't recommend it enough. And then the final step, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Well, that's pretty much carrying the message and trying to live the steps in daily life. It's the step that leads you back to kind of step one and remembering why your life was unmanageable and bringing you full circle. And, it's 12 steps. They're all manageable. They're all doable. And I've managed to do them. I do carry the word. I speak openly about my alcoholism in the hope that it can help somebody one day and help them recognize if they have a problem and if they need help to seek it. So, yeah, I think we did 12 steps possibly over about almost a year, I would say. So, but people take as long or as short as they need to do it. Some people can just race through them, or some people do it as a lifelong journey. I learned a hell of a lot, and I do try and apply them through my daily life. So recovery for me over the 5 years has, as with anything in life, has many ups and downs and highs and lows. But one thing my recovery has taught me is how to handle and deal with situations a lot better. Situations at home, situations at work, situations with family. And my journey from after the sort of 9 or 10 months in early sobriety and working through the steps into after year 1, into your 18 months, into year 2, you kind of, I wouldn't say coasting. You're not coasting because you never know what life throws at you, but you're just always in the back of your mind reminded as to why we do this program, why it's important, why staying sober is important, and trying to remember that I am in more control now than I ever was when I was drinking. My thoughts are my own. My actions are my own. I am responsible. I was responsible when I was drinking, but all too often what can happen is that you can use that as an excuse as to why you've acted in a particular way. So I drank too much. I don't remember saying that. Did that happen? Stuff like that. Being free from that fog and that headache and being free from those waking up and having to check your emails to find out how much you spent, that for me is that life beyond my wildest dreams, or part of it, that, 5 years ago, I never thought I would imagine could be possible. For 30 years, I lived my life in that cycle of drinking and making poor decisions and making a mess, bumbling through, and, sometimes blaming the drink, sometimes thinking I did have a problem, but then not acting on that. And that led to further drinking, further abuse, led me to believe I could manage my drinking by cutting down, which was impossible. I could never do that. But as you move through the years, for me, I have to maintain my own sanity, my own mental health in terms of reflecting back on the times that I drank and now thinking, is that a place I ever want to go back to? I think I can count 2 occasions where I felt in the first 2 years that I could be pushed into drinking. I could relent. I could give in and pick up again. But thankfully I didn't. I reached out, I went to a meeting, I did what I was supposed to do. I picked up the books, I listened, and it helped me see that actually climbing into that bottle again is not the answer. It's not the answer, and it will only lead to more harm, more destruction, and quite possibly even my death, because that's what I was working towards. I was killing myself through my drinking. So each year you get a chip. Well, in your first 12 months, you get a chip per month. You get a chip after your 24 hours, and I do have my collection, and I can see them. I do hold them now and again, and it is a stark reminder. It is a reminder of the effort and work I've put in to staying sober, because it does take time and effort, understanding, and you learn so much about yourself that you quite possibly weren't even aware of. But it helps you so much in moving forward and putting the past in the past. And so much so that I am able to contribute to other people's lives. I am able to speak openly about my issues in the hope that other people get something from it. And this is the reason why I'm doing this now. I believe that over the years, especially over this last 5 years, my relationship with my children has grown stronger. One of the most horrible, awful situations was while I was still drinking and the kids were with me after the separation, and they were arguing, and they'd asked me not to drink that day. And as they were arguing, I blurted out that, actually, if you don't stop arguing, I'm going to have to go get some drink. That's how low I had become. That's how little of myself and my kids I thought at that time. Now, thankfully, it resonated with me that actually that was a disgusting thing to say, and I still reflect on it now as being one of the lowest points of my rock bottom. Using that as a means, using the kids bickering as a means to try and get a drink in me, and that filled me full of shame. I look back on it now. I apologized for it, and like I said, my sobriety is living amends to my kids. I look back on that, and I am able to see how damaging that could be, and it's a mistake I'll never make again, or hopefully will never make again. So what can happen after a period of time is you can, and I do hear this quite a lot, as people become flat or they become stale, or now a lot of it could be that going to the same groups you can maybe become a bit complacent, become too familiar. I would urge anyone to try anything different, as in go to other groups, different areas. I myself don't partake in that as such. I do more online meetings these days, but it's good because you can find online meetings 24 hours a day, and you can mix it up, meet new people, stay with those groups. So in order to try and maintain your sobriety and even listen to various different people, go to different groups and offer to speak to people. I have really honest, frank conversations, even in my office, when it comes to people asking me if I want to go out, am I coming out for a drink? And I'm just openly state, thank you for the offer, but no, it's not for me. And that's not because I'm a killjoy or, I don't like going out or anything. It's because sometimes when people go out, they mean to go out to get excessively drunk or, let their hair down. And those people are perfectly well entitled to do that and can do that. But that for me has always been a problem and an issue. And I don't want to put myself in a position or an issue or a situation where I feel uncomfortable in that arena. So I will protect myself as best I can. Yeah, so there are ways of protecting myself. Looking forward, I hope there are many years of sobriety to come. I do feel I'm on a really good trajectory. I am dealing with issues as they come at me, and I am dealing with them head on. I am much better placed and in a greater position to have the clarity of thought to be able to analyse and think and discuss issues with people. Whereas before I would run away and hide and have that drink. I do still sometimes set myself unrealistic goals, or especially around my weight and my fitness, which do set me back somewhat. So that is a work in progress. But again, working the program, it is progress, not perfection. There's plenty in the book about that, about not fulfilling some of the goals, etc. The main goal for me is to stay sober, and however I do that, that can only be for the best. The other goals, my weight, my fitness, will all fall into line at some point. But I just have to be kind to myself. I will meditate. I will continue to meditate. I will continue to have a program of self-care. I will continue with the meetings because they are vital. They have been vital to my sobriety and my getting better. Not 100% well, but I am getting better. And, it has given me the gift of life. And I know that sounds cliched, but actually, no, it's not. Had I not listened to that person who took me to my first meeting, had I not put down that drink and had I continued to drink, then I wouldn't be talking to you now. I wouldn't be 5 years sober, and I would probably be ashes somewhere scattered around. So I have worked hard for my sobriety. 260 weeks, 1,826 days, 43,824 hours. And I've worked hard every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, and over the past 5 years to maintain this and make sure I am living and being the best version of me. So going forward, again, I don't sponsor anybody, but I hope one day maybe I can. But at the moment, even though I'm 5 years sober, I don't feel well enough to be able to help somebody else through. I will contribute still through my speaking at meetings, through sharing and speaking openly to other people. Could I honestly turn around and say I could walk somebody through the steps at the moment? Honestly, no. And I don't want to let people down. And again, our default of character is, my fear of letting people down. But at the moment, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy moving forward. I'm happy that I'm able to deal with life on life's terms. I am dealing with situations, and this is my life beyond my wildest dreams, because I never thought I'd be sat here speaking to whoever's listening, especially 5 years ago when I thought I was possibly going to be dead. And hopefully I am making a difference with this podcast. If you stick with it, you can achieve, you will achieve, and you will be able to ride many storms. You will be able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and build a new life. I'm rebuilding. I am making headway. I look back and think about the 30 years of drink, 30 years of alcohol abuse, and 30 years that I gave up or that alcohol stole from me. And slowly but surely I am making that time back. I'll never get it all back, but being the best version of me, I can at least try, and I will, and I am going to succeed. And if I can help anybody else out there, feel free to email me. As usual, if you have been triggered by anything that I have spoken about today, please use the links below and email me separately, and happy to talk to anybody. And I look forward to speaking to you on the next podcast. Thank you, and stay well.
free audio post-production by alphonic.com.